But healthcare is really important to much of the American populace, and it's at the center of many of their concerns with Amy Coney Barrett, who is being confirmed today. Joining us now, Independent Senator Angus King of Maine. Senator King wrote an article for The Atlantic along with Boston College history professor Heather Cox Richardson entitled "Amy Coney Barrett's Judicial Philosophy Doesn't Hold Up to Scrutiny." So we'll start there. Senator King, welcome back to the show. Tell us how it doesn't hold up.
Well, number one of the frustrating parts about this process is we have this kabuki dance of these hearings where the nominees won't tell you what they think. They won't talk about any cases. They say, well, I can't talk about it. That may be a case. They're deliberately trying to sort of obscure where they're headed, which is exactly what we need to know in making a confirmation. I mean, it's like dating someone and saying, you know, do you like to travel? And your date says, well, I'm not sure. We'll have to check that when you ask me to travel after we're married. I mean, this is a lifetime commitment. But here's the other problem. She talks about being an originalist. That's the term. It goes back to Antonin Scalia and a lot of conservative scholarship. Basically, what they're saying is the only thing you can look at when you interpret the Constitution is the text, what it says, and what the intention of those 55 men in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787 was. Here's the problem, Mika. It just doesn't make sense. For example, the Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says that Congress can raise and support an army and a navy. What about the Air Force? It's not mentioned in the text. The text isn't ambiguous, and I don't think those guys in Philadelphia thought about the Wright brothers 115 years later. So is the Air Force unconstitutional? Under the originalist test, it is. But, you know, they say, well, that, you know, it was protecting the country. That's just a small example. Something like that is fairly easy. What about what does due process mean? Is that obvious? Can you really determine that from what these fellows talked about in that convention? You really can't. You have to have a Constitution and a Supreme Court that allows for some ethical and moral and political growth. And they want to make it frozen in time. And really, here's the end point, Mika. What these folks really want to do is cripple the federal government. This is a theory. This originalism stuff has been invented as a cloak to cover a theory of constitutional practice that would basically take us back to 1933. When the Supreme Court was knocking down all of the New Deal and saying that that's not something the federal government can do, they can't do. And we're talking about things like the Affordable Care Act, but we're also talking about the EPA, we're talking about the FDA, we're talking about trying to do something about climate change. This is a strategy to strangle the federal government via the U.S. Supreme Court.
But, you know, one area where being an originalist would support an action today would be actually expanding or contracting the Supreme Court at will, David Ribnick, because, of course, the Constitution says you can do it. George Washington did it. John Adams did it. Thomas Jefferson did it. Andrew Jackson did it. Lincoln did it. Republicans after Lincoln did it. So if they really want to go back to the founders and the original text, well, then I guess originalists will be on the front of those sort of changes. Do you have a question for the senator?
Sure, I do. Senator, perhaps by the end of the day, we're going to have a Supreme Court that is 6-3 conservative. And the state of Texas is bringing an ACA case to the Supreme Court. How do you expect that to come out, and on what basis?
Well, Amy Coney Barrett was very critical of the decision back in 2013 when the court upheld the ACA. So there's an indicator, although, of course, in her hearing, as I mentioned, she wouldn't answer the question, but there's an indicator that she's going to be negative. This means that John Roberts can't be the deciding vote, which he was in 2013. Even if Roberts tries to or wants to uphold the law, you're still talking 5-4 with her in the court. And by the way, that's one of the things that's really awful about this whole process. This argument about the ACA, about the Affordable Care Act, is the 10th of November, 1 week after the election. That's why this Senate and this president are so hell-bent to get this person on the bench before that case. The other piece, of course, is the president has already said he wants the election to be decided in the Supreme Court. He said, we've got it. This election is going to go to the Supreme Court. We've got to get this judge on the court. That's that's impropriety, if you will. That's a mild term for it in real time. So, yes, I think the ACA is very much in play. And as you pointed out earlier, there's no plan to replace it. I don't know what was in that thick volume, but we haven't seen a plan. A plan has been 2 weeks away for 10 years. And the president signing an executive order saying we're not going to do pre-existing conditions has no meaning whatsoever. It's not worth the paper it's written on, has no legal authority. And all these folks saying, oh, we're all for pre-existing conditions. Meanwhile, we're voting to gut the Affordable Care Act. It's misleading the American people. And I'm tired of hearing that because it's just not true.
All right, Senator Angus King, thank you so much. We want to go now.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.